So Netflix. You all know Netflix, right? Well, recently their animation department has come under heavy criticism over their recent business decisions. I haven't seen the community so up in arms over something in a long time. Actually, you know what? That may be a lie. But anyways, there's a lot to go into, so without further ado, I am Papercut and let's talk about it. The article we'll be going over today comes from Drew Taylor over at The Wrap. Phil Ryanda, whose official title is Netflix's Director of Creative Leadership and Development for Original Animation, was let go this week, along with several of his staff. The Wrap can exclusively report, and Netflix has confirmed. According to several creators who spoke to The Wrap, the kids and family space at Netflix Animation has changed. Series that benefited from great word of mouth and critical praise aren't being renewed, and several high-profile projects have been unceremoniously cancelled, including the long-delayed adaptation of Jeff Smith's beloved comic book series Bone, first announced back in 2019. Netflix, which just saw its stock plummet more than 30% after revealing a subscriber and revenue loss during its first quarter earning report this Tuesday, isn't just in trouble on Wall Street, it's also facing complications in Toontown. Right off the bat, the article goes in depth about how Netflix has experienced a severe drop in its stocks, which would obviously connect to Netflix making the decision to cancel many of their shows and fire multiple of their staff. Despite what I may say about Netflix later on in this video, I just want to make it clear that it does suck to see a company that was once praised for its creative approach to animation go down like this.
Those cucks.
A few years ago, there was no place more welcoming or seductive to artists and animators than Netflix Animation. Netflix's animation units, like its live-action divisions, were known for being a place that you could bring a project that might not have gained traction anywhere else, and suddenly have it produced, without much studio interference. Animation heavyweights, like Craig McCracken, Elizabeth Ito, and Jorge Gutierrez, rushed to the service and quickly started working on their personal dream projects, while Netflix also courted younger artists and fostered productive licensing agreements, chiefly with DreamWorks Animation. But now you are seeing fewer of those creative-driven projects. New series aren't as exciting as they once were. Many animators have left the studio, decamping to old standbys like Cartoon Network, Disney, and Nickelodeon, or other upstarts like Apple TV Plus and Amazon. The article does have a good point about the state of Netflix animation before these changes. I feel like Netflix peaked around 2020 to late 2021 in terms of the new shows they were putting out, and you would think that it's just been due to a dry spell. Most companies go through uncreative periods all the time. Cartoon Network, for instance, had a dry spell right before one of their biggest shows aired. But no. Instead, it's actually due to an extremely counterintuitive mentality that the company has. The article continues, one producer, whose show on Netflix wasn't renewed, said that when they got to Netflix, Ryanda, who served creative roles on groundbreaking animated series like Gravity Falls and Adventure Time, told Netflix creators, "We want to be the home of everybody's favorite show." By the time the producer left several years later, there was a new thesis statement. "We want to make what our audience wants to see." Reed Hastings, Netflix's co-CEO, now told Animation Talent. As far as mission statements go, those are vastly different. Immediately, one of the red flags as to how Netflix has been treating their animation was within this paragraph for me. Because to me, there should be no difference as to everybody's favorite show and the shows that their audience wants to see. To me, those two statements being treated as differently makes no sense, as I feel like despite what these companies and their market research and data says, and I can't believe I have to say this, but the ratings and views that a show gets doesn't equal to a good reputation, dedicated fan base, or anything that you would want from a show. So to me, this change in their thesis statement is just a clever way of saying that they're getting rid of the creative freedom that they've been giving animation in exchange for monetary gain.
First of all, congratulations, Mr. Krabs.
Hello, I like money.
And I get it. It's a business. Making money is obviously important because that's how you pay your employees to make sure situations like these don't happen. But what companies fail to realize is that oftentimes when you let that creativity dominate instead of your market research and data, you can get that same level of audience interaction. Adventure Time Distant Lands, SpongeBob, Amphibia, The Owl House, and We Bare Bears, which even got a spin-off, can all hold a candle to the specific show that gets mentioned later on. This also shows a real lack of faith in their creatives since they have no faith that they can make something that their audience wants to see. The article continues, true to this new thesis statement, several high-profile animated projects in the kids and family space have been outright cancelled, including Bone, which Netflix confirmed, an adaptation of Roald Dahl's The Twits that was meant to be part of several doll-based projects. Netflix insists The Twits is still alive, potentially now as a feature film, and Lauren Fowles' witchy Toil and Trouble. Netflix currently touts Boss Baby as the ideal of what an animated series on the platform should be, and what kind of numbers those animated series should be bringing in. This was reiterated by almost everyone we spoke to. Although Netflix doesn't even own Boss Baby, it licenses the series from DreamWorks Animation. A new Boss Baby series premieres next month. Now, this is the main part of the article that grabbed people's attention, as a lot of people were looking forward to these shows airing, particularly Bone, which I never even heard of until I read this article. I am, however, very disappointed that the Twit series might never come to see the light of day, as I always was a huge fan of Roald Dahl books as a kid, and I think that's the main issue Netflix is dealing with here. They cancelled all of these diverse shows that people were looking forward to and were going to watch, in favor of making and promoting a very particular type of show that appeals to a much smaller audience than they could have reached.
Hey, kiddo. I need a place to crash and...
They're not making shows their audience wants to see, they're making shows that make money off an easily impressed demographic. True that the numbers the Boss Baby is doing are impressive, when compared to the multitude of fans you were getting, and could have gotten, it makes you wonder exactly what Netflix sees in this decision. But that's not even the worst thing that this article points out, as the next paragraph highlights the way in which Netflix disservices their animation outright. Elizabeth Ito, whose deeply brilliant City of Ghosts was recently nominated for a Peabody Award and currently sports a perfect 100% on Rotten Tomatoes, reiterated, as many did, how much they enjoyed working with both the executive teams and Netflix's marketing department. But she suggested that Netflix's 360 feedback culture, which is espoused in its culture memo, and trumpets full transparency as one of their core tenets, went out the window when the show was threatened with cancellation. Ito and others have complained of being presented with staged data meant to prove a point that Netflix has and squash conversation around it. Ito described the data as explaining for the first time what they should have gotten for what they spent on the show. Netflix confirms the decisions are made using data, which takes into account viewing versus cost. Creators have described the process as manipulative. One producer sent the data back, asked questions, and received a separate, different set of data that still reinforced Netflix's position. Ito is left wondering, well, are you going to make it or not? Netflix did not. Ito is now at Apple.
Huh? Am I really home? Or am I still in the game?
The biggest kicker about this article is that in a sense, it pulls the veil over our eyes as to the way the company has been treating its creatives. But I guess none of us should actually even be surprised here, as Netflix is still a huge company with old men in suits looking at charts and graphs. Not only that, but the data they receive has a major flaw in it, and it's something that took me a while to realize. Netflix isn't good at marketing animation. As someone whose YouTube search history is filled with animation-related topics, I haven't seen many ads and promotion for a lot of these shows. I never saw an ad for Centaur World, City of Ghosts, and even shows that are still on, like Kid Cosmic, The Cuphead Show, and The Hollow. And those are some of the most celebrated animated projects to come from Netflix. It's largely been up to the community itself to market these shows. The article even says this later on. Levers that other animation studios at bigger corporations can pull, like consumer products releases, or promotional tie-ins, aren't pulled at Netflix. There weren't Kid Cosmic action figures lining the shelves of Target. You couldn't get a City of Ghosts Happy Meal toy at McDonald's. There's no theme park or dedicated retail space to exploit either. On the official Netflix shop, there isn't a single kids and family animated series represented. The way in which Netflix used stage data to control their showrunners literally makes no sense when you take into consideration the lack of advertising these shows get. How can they expect bigger numbers when they don't build interest for their shows, which will significantly boost viewership? And even if it doesn't do well after the fact, you can still actually gauge that the show just doesn't have a big following among your audience, and then you can cancel it. Don't use manipulative data when it's probably based on the one show you actually seem to care about. Dominic Bisignano, sorry if I pronounced that name incorrectly, an executive producer on Megan Nicole Dong's musical animated series Centaur World, said that Netflix is proud of its data. He admits that the approach brings up a lot of questions. While Bisignano says that Dong was able to tell the story she wanted over the course of Centaur World's episodes, Dong told the streamer, "If you want more, we can do that." Instead, the team was presented with data, but not given context for what the data means to Netflix. It seemed Centaur World wouldn't go beyond its initial commitment. When Bisignano asked questions about the data, Netflix stonewalled him. Bisignano is now at Cartoon Network.
A new friend?
A lack of communication on the part of Netflix seems to be a recurring theme as well. As the paragraph states, Centaur World, which is one of the more popular cartoons mentioned in this article, was pretty much cock-blocked from getting more episodes by Netflix. It makes me wonder if Netflix was ever in the game for the creativity and love for animation as we were led to believe. If they really supported Centaur World and shows like it, Netflix wouldn't all of a sudden have these expectations and use biased data just to not even give these shows more seasons. This is in stark contrast as to the animated movies, which are treated to much more recognition and advertising than their kids and family division, as Elizabeth Ito was apparently not given any recognition for her Peabody Award by Netflix for a considerable amount of time and had to campaign on Twitter to get said recognition. Whereas with Mitchell's vs. the Machines, it was made very clear by Netflix that they showed full support when it got its Oscar. The article ends off with a very good quote by saying, "With Netflix stock precipitously dropping and budgets being tightened or slimmed company-wide from production to hiring, maybe these animation creators knew long ago what everybody else is figuring out now, that Netflix, while filled with great people, can be a wonderful place. But when you're being driven purely by algorithms and numbers, sometimes the math doesn't add up." So that was the article. What do you guys think about this whole Netflix situation? I'd love to hear your thoughts down below. In the meantime, check out more of my videos like this one about FairyCon, or this one about the Patrick Star Show. I've been Papercut, I hope you have a good day, and take care.